what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another Kerbal video. It's been quite a while since I released a new video. My apologies about that. I had some health issues that took me out of commission for a bit, but I hope all that's taken care of and I can get back to a steady release of KSP videos again. But anyway, into today's video, you can see from the intro we have the freighter that was built in one of the previous launches. We assembled that in space, and it is now loaded up with the base building modules ready to leave the Kerbal orbit and head out to Duna. You can see some of the heating issues we had here as the engines cool down a little bit. And we're going to start plotting out our periapsis for a low orbital insertion so that we can aerobrake as much as possible coming into the atmosphere. Duna has a really thin atmosphere, and because of that you're going to face a lot less heat when you enter, so it's nice to take as big of an advantage of that as possible and save your delta V. Going over the build a bit, you can see each of the attached modules are carried by a small lander. There's a few reasons why I went with the landers over something like a sky crane. The first was to save a little time during the building process, so I didn't have to land and relaunch every time to grab each module. And with the use of the landers, I could just focus on getting the cargo down to the landing site to progress right into our base building. And while I said the heat is minimal here, you're still going to want to tuck those solar panels away. There we are, coming in at about 26,000 meters to aerobrake into the atmosphere. Now, it's been a little bit since I recorded this, but I do remember this altitude pushing the heat limits a little with a ship this size. Ultimately, though, it worked out and we didn't break anything here, so success. As far as getting the landers down to our building site, this was my biggest concern. A couple things I wasn't sure about were how they would balance, or if I would have enough delta V on the heavier modules to be able to control them how I needed for the pinpoint landings. And while almost all of them handled really well, you can see I did struggle with the material kits. It's by far the heaviest cargo, and unfortunately you can see that one lands a little away from the building site. We will have to grab the ground crane and off-road a bit to get that one back. Back up with our crew. I think it's been about a year Kerbal time since I've last checked in with them. They have been living comfortably in their little interim home up in space while we continue the ground efforts to set up a real long-term solution. Anyway, it's time to head down to the surface though and start assembling. The landing here with this large cargo ship was probably my biggest struggle, and full disclosure, I think it took at least 3 attempts to land. Now while it is a pretty heavy cargo plane to be landing on Duna, it's usually not much of an issue with the aero spikes placed on the belly. The problem I faced here was the debris scattered everywhere from previous launches, so you might notice the vessel mover here because I had to go up and down this landing strip and remove old strutting and useless cargo so that I could land without everything trying to render in. You can also notice we landed just out of the render range of everything at our building site, as well to avoid the same issue. There we go. All our modules are down and our crew is here as well to start unloading. It took a lot of prep work to get to this point, so it's a little exciting for me to even see all these landed here finally. Our star of the show today is for sure going to be our engineer Bill, so it only felt fitting to give him this little intro to show some love. Like I said, we have to go for a little cruise to grab the material kit, so we might as well get that one out of the way first and secure everything back at the landing site. The ground crane ended up working wonderfully for this build. All the cargo was tested and built to fit under this crane perfectly. And if I'm being honest, I think my biggest obsession with using this crane was the use of the winches. They were just too cool and really added that Tonka style of building to the mission. The winches are a part of the Kerbal attachment system mod and really add so much depth to gameplay when you are attempting any kind of base build. Very nice. We were able to unload that pretty smoothly, and our first piece of the base is on the ground. It's not the most exciting first piece, but I'm glad this one is almost out of the way. We just need to get over and grab our antenna/solar panel setup and attach it to the top of this material kits module. This part of the assembly really shows the value of the ground crane here, being able to attach the structure pretty precise and just let the magnets do the rest of the work. The docking ports we are using are a part of the Umbra Space Industries mod, and for all these missions we run the full USI suite, and these ports are extremely useful. They let you collapse down and essentially weld the two pieces connected right together, just like that. Unfortunately though, it doesn't actually weld the two pieces together to make one part count. That would be nice, but you would have to find a separate welding mod for that. Let's get Bill back to work and unload these last three modules. Each of these were fitted with their own probe cores, wheels, and solar panels to make the base pretty modular for future expansion and pretty easy assembly. Keeping the entire base on wheels like this, opposed to letting the base just sit directly on the ground or even with landing legs supporting, will help you significantly keep the Kraken at bay when you load back in here. Wheeling over our habitat to connect, it doesn't quite yet look like a cool Duna base right now. It's more of this tube build. But this initial build has to support 2 of our crew members for a few years' time, while another freighter ship is sent from Kerbal with the remaining modules. And I promise you those last modules will add some spice to this base in the next episode. And if you hang around to the end of this video, you can see a small tease of one of them. But for now, this will be our Kerbal's temporary home. I think it's at least a year and a half before our next ship arrives. The last bit of cargo we have to unload is our supplies. This is a mix of, supplies and fertilizer, colony supplies, and recyclables, I believe. In the end, when everything is built, this colony should be sufficient for at least 50 years, supporting 4 Kerbals. If you've never messed around with the Kerbal attachment system, it's somewhat similar to the inventory system that's now a part of the stock game, but it still gives a bit more options. You can see here I'm attaching the supplies to our base. We don't actually have to do this because of the way the USI mod works. As long as we are in range, we should get the benefits of those supplies, but this will allow us to dock these together as one piece now. Jeb and Val are just pulling the rover into place to give us just a little bit more hab time. If we needed it, we could always pull the cargo plane over to attach for an even longer duration. Alright, again, I know it doesn't look much like a base right now, and I really wanted to fit everything into one episode, but it would be skipping over big parts of the build to fit everything into one. However, like I promised, here is a little teaser of what we are launching up in the next video.
Turn it up!
There you go, we're gonna do some cool domes on Duna. Thanks to Mark Thrim for these amazing parts, and thank you guys for watching. Until next time, like and subscribe, and take care.